almost a year ago to the day, we had some heavy snow here in the Pacific Northwest, and it also coincided with the Tesla Supercharger access starting for Ford EV owners. And so I decided on Leap Day to head out and drain my truck's battery pack a little bit before then heading to a supercharger to try and document the experience. So I left the house and went north of my house up into the mountains where they'd had significantly more snow than we'd had at the house. In fact, it wasn't snowing at the house when I left. It was raining like today, but it was a lot colder. And when I headed up further into the mountains, I hit fresh snow on top of sheet ice. Many of you will know what happened next. I was only driving at about 20-25 miles an hour. I hit a patch of ice that was underneath fresh snow on a downhill section of gravel track, lost all traction, plowed into a power line that was right on a corner, and as I hit the power line, the side step of my original Ford F150 Lightning, which we called a Diratal, caught onto the guy wire that supported that power line, bringing the power line down on top of the truck, writing the truck off, and I walked away. I was very lucky. The airbags didn't go off, but because the power line had fallen on top of the truck, it wrote the truck off. And so I had to say goodbye to a Diratal, my 2022 Ford F150 Lightning extended range Lariat. And luckily, the insurance company paid out. It gave me the full value of my truck, plus a little bit extra to cover some of the things that I'd done to a Diratal. And almost immediately, like within a week or two, I was able to replace that truck with another F150 Lightning Lariat, this time in a slightly different blue because the original blue of my first truck was no longer being offered. And I ended up with this truck. This is Ortega's. It is a 2023 F-150 Lightning Lariat extended range. And today I'm going to tell you about, well, what it's been like driving this truck for the last year and literally at the point of filming this, 10,000 miles. I did not plan that. Okay, maybe I did a little bit, but we've done 10,000 miles in this truck. So here's everything that's gone right, everything that we've had trouble with, and where we lie when it comes to this truck. So while technically I haven't owned this truck for a full year yet, I think we picked up this truck like the second week of March. The fact that it's been just about a year since the accident and we've done 10,000 miles seemed like a good chance for me to kind of give you an update as to where we're at. So unlike the original truck, which we purchased, I think on either a 5 or a 6 year purchase plan, because we owned our Chevrolet Bolt EV outright at the point that we were able to buy this, we were able to get a really good financing deal from Ford at the time of purchase. We got a trade-in. Somebody offered me their special friends and family discount from Ford. So I was able to reduce the price a little bit. And to be clear, that was a fan of the show who offered that, not anybody at Ford corporate. So I was able to get this truck, I think, out the door for just over 60,000 US, which is dramatically less than the $80,000 the original truck was. So taking that all into consideration, that price included a $7,500 US federal tax credit. We were able to finance this car over 4 years with a pretty low interest loan through Ford Finance. So right now, I technically own 1/4 of this truck. And it's been really nice because the interest payments on this truck have been dramatically ramped down and the amount we're paying towards the principal has been dramatically ramped up. We financed this not through the company, but through our personal bank account. My wife works as a consultant. She has a decent paying job. And so we were able to leverage her income that allowed us to buy this truck. So no kind of Patreon support or anything went directly to buying this vehicle. But while this is a privately owned vehicle, it's one that we use most weeks for Transport Evolved stuff. As many of you know, it is our camera truck. So when we're filming fancy footage of press cars that we've got on loan, Erin normally drives this, and then either I or Kate Walton Elliott will drive the press car. Our camera person sits in the back, and we have this operate as a camera truck. And because it's a Lariat, because it's got that sliding rear glass, we're able to pass the cables back out really safely into the bed and then onto the hitch. We've made an entire video about that, so go watch that. We'll link to it below if you are interested. Until about 2-3 weeks ago, this truck only had about 8,500 miles on the clock. And in the last 2 weeks, we've actually driven this truck a lot. So last weekend, I went down to Sacramento in California over the President's Day long weekend, and I picked up some new batteries for my Vectrix VX1 electric maxi scooter project. And obviously I took the truck because batteries are heavy. So that was a down and back over the course of 2 days. That's about 1,200 miles. And then later today, my partner's going to be taking this truck up to a client site that's in a little bit more of a remote part of the Pacific Northwest. And while she could take her Bolt EV, and she would have to stop a couple of times to charge, based on our own experience with this truck, she'll be able to get up there in one go with this truck and then get back again. And obviously she'll be able to claim the miles back on her employee expense form. So she's going to borrow the truck for that trip. And it's a nicer, more comfortable experience for long distance travel when you compare it to the older Bolt. So it's really important that we made this video this morning, and the truck is fully charged in a couple of hours time so she can take it off on her trip. Now I've told you where we're at, you know, how much we own of the truck. Let's talk about some of the issues that we've had. If you watch previous videos on the channel, you probably know that there's been like 2 big niggles that we had to this point. The first one was that the Ford home integration system, which we purchased for our original F150 Lightning, has been a nightmare. It has been very unreliable, hasn't really worked. And in a previous video, I talked about the fact that it stopped working again. Well, it is now working again. I have been working with Ford's engineering team. They kind of escalated it up the chain. And now I just have to press this button at the menu bar at the top of the truck, which is a standard feature, by the way, if you have a Ford vehicle, and you can submit a bug report. I've been doing that every time we've had a failed power transfer event. And I got an email from the Ford engineering team the other day. They are very confident now that they are pretty close to solving the problems. I did a test of the home integration system the other day, and it worked perfectly. So I know I've said fingers crossed before, but you know, fingers crossed. There's a major storm coming through today, and we've been told we're probably going to lose power. And unfortunately, this truck's not going to be at the house because my wife's going to be driving it. Again, much easier driving this truck in heavy rain and wind than it is the small hatchback. So fingers crossed the power won't go out. But so far, it has been a pain in the butt, and I wouldn't recommend anybody use it. The other issue that we'd had, obviously, we covered in a previous video, was that the roof had got stuck and it wouldn't close properly. That now does appear to be fixed, so fingers crossed it will continue to work. There's been no other major issues with the vehicle. We've had obviously over-the-air software updates. We had one recently that improves the telematics system and the communication system in the truck. After that update, that's when I tested the vehicle to home system, and it worked. So I don't know if there was a fix embedded in that or if it was just happier. But so far, so good. We did have the official Ford suspension recall done just last week. There was an issue with the way that one of the steering components and suspension components was assembled at the factory, and there was a recall notice. We got the recall notice. We talked to the dealership, and they picked up the car on Thursday last week, brought it in, fixed it, and we got it back on Friday. So that's really good. They kept it overnight because obviously they have to inspect. I don't know if anyone knows this, but very often with recalls, the vehicle has to be inspected before the recall is approved. So they had to have someone inspect the truck to make sure that it was affected by the recall and that it had the defect. Then they had to submit a form to Ford. Ford then approved it, and then they had to wait for the parts to arrive, which is a ridiculously long-winded process, but that's really very standard for the industry, unfortunately. So they did that, and while the truck was at the dealership, I said, hey, the charge port door is sagging. It doesn't always close properly. It doesn't always lock. Can you have a look? And one of their techs looked at it. They fixed the sagging temporarily, but they've gone ahead and ordered a replacement part. Now, Tom Malogany's just actually replaced the charge port door on his F150 Lightning. He did a great video on it, and it's really simple to do. Obviously, because it's an official warranty repair, because of this truck being under 3 years and however many miles, I'll let the dealership do it, and I won't have to pay anything for it. But it's good to know that that will be done. The 12-volt battery, the non-standard 12-volt battery that we fitted a couple of months back, and again we did a video on that, it's been doing just fine. Just like the OEM lead-acid starter battery, however, sometimes the truck, you get behind the wheel of the truck and it says the battery is low, and you get a warning on the screen saying, screen off to battery saver something. I can't remember what the actual error message is. I don't know if that's the cold weather. I think it probably is. I'm going to keep an eye on that. I've checked the actual the OMU battery, and it seems just fine. It's got the right voltage on it, so I wonder if that's just a software niggle. One thing that I do want to talk to you about a little bit before we talk about the telematics is some of the mods that I've made to the truck are kind of small but very useful. Now, if you are someone who is tech savvy, software capable, and you have an F150 Lightning and you want to have a play with tweaking some of the vehicle settings, there is an app you can download called Ford Scan. Except it's not Ford Scan, it's FOR Scan. And if I say For Scan, it sounds like something else. So it's FORSCAN. Download that, and there are some mods you can do to the truck. I'm showing you the first one now. You won't be able to see it, but there is, I'll link to some instructions in the down below. There's a way to set up the truck so that it will display feeds from both the left and the right mirrors while you're driving along, which is great because it's good for blind spots. And I find if you're in a busy city where there's lots of cyclists, or you are in a state where filtering is legal for motorbikes, you can whack that up, and it then gives you that extra blind spot warning. It also means that you can see things that might be in your normal blind spot if you looked in the mirror. I like it. I very often have that up. The other thing that I enabled using ForScan was having the trailer tow camera. So if I connect a trailer up to this truck now and I hit the indicator, it will automatically display the camera feed from the mirror for the direction I've indicated. And that's really, really useful. I love it. One of the best mods I made. I also have enabled a couple of other features. I enabled the dark mode, the police dark mode, or stealth mode, or Bambi mode, they sometimes call it. It's not the full police vehicle mode, but what it does is it gives you the option to turn off all of the lights. So normally when you approach the vehicle, the lights will come on, but you can actually set that so it doesn't happen. And that's very useful if you want to be in a place where you don't want anyone to know that you're sitting in the truck. It doesn't draw attention to the vehicle, and it's a good way of keeping everything kind of hidden at night. Why would you want that? Well, if you are traveling on your own and you're a single person, especially if you're from a minority group, not drawing attention to yourself is a good thing. There are some mods that I still have that I want to do, and if you have followed the channel for a while, you know I have a couple of gripes about the 2023 F150 Lightnings not having features that were standard in my original 2022. And one of those was the front camera washer. While you do have a front camera on the grille, on this particular version of the truck, you don't have the sprayer that comes out of the emblem and sprays the camera lens to clean it. Now, while I still have my original F150 Lightning, I had some credits from Ford for buying the vehicle, and I splurged them on a very trashy Ford Putco light up badge emblem, and it comes in a kit and you can put it in the vehicle. Now, many people who have installed that on their vehicle have had some issues finding the right wiring, getting stuff in, but Martin over at Martin Rebuilds, another great channel you should watch, has figured out that the loom that came with that original Putco emblem needs to be modified slightly for the F150 Lightning. He has a very cool video explaining which wires you need to modify. And while I haven't modified the lens, the wires and everything yet, because there's been other things on my mind, I'm not going to lie, everything going on in America right now has meant that, and I think this is true for a lot of people, you spend a lot more time just trying to keep your brain in a safe place, and you have less energy for external projects. That's certainly been true for me. But my plan is to create a modified loom as per Martin's instructions, and then whack that in when the weather is better. So I'll put the new light up emblem on, and because that light up emblem has a spot for a camera washer jet, I've also already picked up, sitting on my kitchen table, the extension cable that you need to put in a washer jet onto that front emblem. So then, in addition to the locking spare wheel cover that I put on shortly after I bought this truck, I will then also have the camera washer, meaning the only thing I think that my original F150 Lightning had that this one won't is a couple of software features and the onboard scales and smart tow hitch. They are unfortunately not easy to add, so I probably won't ever add them, but that's further down the line. The final thing I want to obviously talk about are just some of the additions I've made to the truck, and I also want to throw in something about telematics. So the bed rug that we put in, and also the electric tonneau cover, perfect, flawless. The wiring that I did, again, we'll link to previous videos we did on the subject, has been perfect. It has not had any issues. Because this is a 23 and not a 24, I still have the control buttons up here that I can use to control that, and it's perfect. The other thing that's worked really well are those Yakima load carrying, they're not really roof racks, they're kind of bed racks. They have been perfect. They live on the truck because it's easier just to leave it on the truck. We've used that a couple of times and it's worked perfectly. Which leaves me with telematics. The Ford Pass app is still going through development in kind of a very iterative process. I am in the Ford Early Access program. That is not because I'm a journalist. I'm not getting any special treatment. I signed up just like any other member of the public. And so I do have access to testing of the new features. The only thing I would point out here, and I don't think I'm kind of betraying any NDAs, is that I miss the original Ford Pass app because it had so much more functionality than the latest version of Ford's app has. So the original app had the ability to control the zone lighting remotely from your smartphone. As long as you were in Bluetooth range, you could control your zone lighting. You could also monitor your home integration system through the app. Now you have to do it through a web portal, which means you have to log in. It's a little bit finicky. I don't like it. I liked it when everything was in one app. I don't know what's on the roadmap for the Ford Pass app for iOS or Android, but I hope they re-add those functionalities in the future. The good thing though is that Home Assistant still works using the Ford Pass HA integration that exists. Getting it working requires a little bit of hacking skills on your part because you have to kind of log into the web portal and then pull down your specific key and then put that into the add-on for Home Assistant. But once it's in there, it works. And I have still got integration into my home automation system. I know how full my truck is. I can ask the Apple Siri system in the house, what's the state of range of the truck. I can ask it to precondition. We've also got little smart pads, smart switches, where there's a little button that you can hit that allows you to activate the preconditioning function. I use that so much in the winter, and we use it as well in the summer. And it also gives us an at-a-glance reading for how full the battery is, which is so very, very useful. And it saves going outside and getting cold. So that's it. A year, and really not very many niggles. The winter tyres you put on are doing great. There's been no other major issues I can think of. And here's to the next year, or 10,000 miles, whichever comes first. Oh, and the service. I did get the 10,000 mile service, and because it coincided with a recall, the dealership were very sweet. When they have a recall, they do a visual inspection all around the truck to make sure everything's okay, which is literally what the 10,000 mile service is, with the addition of topping up your washer fluid and swapping your tyres, like rotating your tyres. Because my tyres don't need rotating, I was just like, can you just sign it and say you did it because you're going to do a visual inspection anyway? And they were like, yeah. So my truck now has completed its 10,000 mile service, even though it's only just rolled over 10,000 miles.
Thanks for joining us today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord chat room, on our Patreon page, down below, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon or Blue Sky. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They're part of the massive community of supporters who make this channel possible, helping us through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and helping us to remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. We've got options available across a wide range of different price points from $1.50 US a month. A massive welcome to our newest supporters: BK Davy D, ACM 1985, Alan Jukes, Larry E, Dana Vastman Pearson, Stephen Boyvin, Idressa So Good Doggo, R. Thompson, Steve Hawkins, Peter Hoyflick, Steve Bogt, Timebender, Almir Demir, Eric Mara, Lucas Lipka, Stephen Stanton, and Michael Kolasvari. Plus a special shout out to Andrew Miner, who missed our shout out when we switched systems. Sorry, Andrew. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame, and either I or Kate reading your name out badly. And you can even gift membership to someone else. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have a good old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at for the time being. Address you'll find below. You'll also find links to our swag store, and if you are someone who has to shop on Amazon, please consider using our affiliate links so we get commission, not Jeff Bezos. So we can continue to focus on making our content even better and reduce producer burnout. We're being a little freer with our release days, but plan on dropping new content every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday on our main channel, plus something over on Sunday on Transport Evolved Take 2. If you want more, the mighty algorithm that hates us thinks you should watch this video, but this one is one we'd like you to check out. Be awesome, be kind, be intentional, and don't forget to resist. Keep evolving!